Right, okay. So just put. Yeah. Good evening. I just want you to imagine for a moment your childhood. Now you can't kid me because I know you've all had one. But just for a moment, imagine your childhood and maybe think of one word that you can think from your childhood. But when I think of my childhood, I think of feeling helpless. I think of feeling hopeless. And I think of feeling worthless. And then the social workers came. But it wasn't actually the fear, the anxiety that I lived in as a child and that many children today live in. It was my perception of that childhood. And it's what I call my perception bubble, my perception of that childhood. Because while I was living in that perception bubble of fear and anxiety, I thought I could never, ever escape. And everything was going on around me. But I was just in that bubble, and I never thought I could ever escape. And you're going to laugh now. Because I didn't have toys. I didn't have things that normal children have. But it's interesting how a young child can deal with things. And what I used to do was I would collect the matchsticks of my heavy smoking father. And in the evening, when I went to bed, in my settee, which was ripped foam, I would forage these little matchsticks into a family. And when I went to bed, I thought it was my secret. And I would sort of play with these little matchsticks. But what happened was those matchsticks, my matchstick family became my hopes, my dreams, and my future. And that perception bubble that I got trapped in, I started to see something outside that, using my imagination. And when I walked out that house as a young child and was homeless, when the rain poured down my face, I felt freedom. I felt utter freedom. Now, since that time, when I've left that perception bubble, I've thought of different perceptions. How could I think that there was nothing outside? How could I think that nothing would come from my life? I was in a life of total uncertainty. And when I've started to do some studies around the brain and the discovery of brain plasticity, uncertainty is a terrible thing for our brains to be in. Uncertainty throws our imagination into a disarray. And when I think about that uncertainty, and I think of that perception, I think about the world we're in today. And it is a very, very uncertain world for our young people. We might think that our young people have got a lot more than what we have from when we were younger, but there's a lot of uncertainty. We've got world leaders that are leading a lot of fear and anxiety. We've got uncertain futures for young people. They don't know where they're going to go. And what I'm seeing in schools at the moment is that uncertainty played out in lots and lots of different mental health issues within school. Now, since using my imagination as a young girl, I have started to use what I call imagination therapy through my business with young people. And it has been very successful. Because if there's nothing out there, if you don't feel that there's a future out there for you, if you use your imagination, you can create that future yourselves with your imagination. Now, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. We've got sports people that have used it. Sports people visualise winning. We have musicians that visualise the composition. We even use it for stroke victims who visualise their limbs. So why are we not using this for our young people to teach them the tools that they need? We've got social media that is driving their imaginations into disarray anyway, so let's just harvest that imagination. Even our greatest thinker of all time, Einstein, said logic will get you from A to B, imagination will get you everywhere. I propose that this government starts to have a well-being budget for our young people. Not just an add-on for some overworked teacher or some senior leader. I propose that there is a well-being budget where it's on the curriculum to teach our young people to deal with the everyday uncertainty in their minds. That's one thing I propose, but today I'd like you to all to think about, as we're all sat here listening to me, you've all got your different perceptions anyway. Is there any perception bubble that you're trapped in? Could it be a relationship? How do you feel uncertain about something? How do you know you're in it? Well, you'll feel hopeless. You'll feel helpless. And you'll feel worthless. How do you get out of there? Your imagination. Who can get you out of there? You can. Thank you.